This is a special edition of the Hybrid Cloud Partners podcast. I'm Fede Pacheco alongside my teammate and co-host Adam Burke. And today we have a special guest in the room. We're here in Chicago for Microsoft Ignite. And just yesterday, we did a session on profitable paths to modernization for Splout partners. And if you haven't checked that out, it's already been out for a couple of weeks. So make sure to see all the things that we released at Ignite and also how you can make that part of your modernization journey. But we have more important matters today. We have a partner with us. They came all the way to Chicago, just like we did, to learn and connect with others. And we're excited to welcome them. Right, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both for being here. Super excited to have you all. Drew, Seth, maybe you can just kind of start by introducing yourselves and we can kind of jump into who is RSM.
Sure. My name is Drew Wilson. I've been at RSM for almost 11 years now. I lead our Microsoft licensing and incentives desk and have worked with Adam for
most of the 11?
a long time.
Yeah.
Had the privilege. So
It's been good.
I'm so happy to be here. And Seth?
It's great. My name is Seth Bacon. I'm a director at RSM, helping lead our innovation group. And so my journey there was interesting because I first started in Dynamics that turned into the Power Platform. And it's been interesting now that we're talking about Azure and generative AI and what that has the ability and opportunity for. And so I'm helping lead that conversation with our clients around what does not only the art of the possible look like, but what does the art of the practical look like. Also a Microsoft MVP. And so it's been exciting to be a part and contribute to the community along the journey.
Yeah, it's a super exciting time. It's awesome. Drew, maybe you could share a little bit about RSM. You're a really, diverse company, I would say, that does quite a few things and has a storied past.
Yeah. We've been around for a minute, a 98-year-old firm.
Yeah.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
We're a tax firm, but it really we've started to change. And our CEO, Brian Becker, now says we're a digital firm that does tax audit and consulting services. So we have in North America around 1,700 employees, 2,500 of them focused on Microsoft technologies and growing that practice. It's been a great 11 years that I've been there, and a lot has changed, focused on the consulting side of the business. So strong growth in that space.
It's been neat watching that. And one of the things that was we get into the sort of a digital firm that's offering services. It's been interesting making sure that we have data that's secure and ready to go and making sure that we're providing services that are empowering both our clients as well as our talent, especially during this time right now.
Another really interesting thing was it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. Microsoft, I feel like we were on the same path around industry.
Yeah.
We started to build these industry focused services. And actually Seth is part of was it the original industry?
The third class. Yeah.
Third class?
Yeah.
So we've had
a number of classes. So what we did is Joe Bruce-Willis, our chief economist, said there's an opportunity here. How do we bring and infuse industry, which is critically important, and what's happening at the macro level into what we're doing and providing to our clients? And what's been interesting is Microsoft creates and has a lot of great tools, and it's an amazing platform. But what you need to do is infuse what is unique about it. Like what's unique about food and beverage? What's unique about manufacturing? What's unique about healthcare and nonprofits? And so what we did is we created a program where we took 10 people from throughout the organization, whether it's audit, tax, and consulting, and said, we need to make sure we're understanding industry. We need to understand our clients. Where are they coming from? What do they need? Because you can't provide a solution if you don't know what the problem is. And so we made sure that we said, okay, let's go deep and let's spend 50% of your time being an analyst and meeting with clients and then going through and making sure that you're understanding what the macro impact is. And so during the pandemic, it was very interesting. There were so many external forces that were influencing what a business could do. And we made sure that we had people and were able to create thought leadership and work with Bloomberg analysts and such. And so again, it was that concept of how do we train our people up so they know what the challenges are ahead and being able to bring that forward to our clients.
Yeah, thank you for everything that you're doing. And we definitely go to market through industry and see the difference it makes when you make it more tangible to whatever industry you're talking about. So I ran into you guys yesterday and you were wearing a scarf and you told me, hey, I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona. It's 80 degrees. We're here in Chicago. It's 40 or less going to be, this evening. So definitely made a significant trip to make it all the way to Ignite. Tell us about what motivated this trip.
I think this is without counting pandemic, this is like my 8th Ignite Inspire that I've gone to. And it really is the human interaction, connecting with people in person. It makes a difference, and you have really great conversations when you're able to be in person. And so going out and having some dinner, having a couple drinks together, enjoying each other's time. That was the focus for me, just to get together, not only even within RSM. We have a lot of people that flew in from RSM to see some of my colleagues and talk to them about this really cool changing space landscape, Microsoft technology. So that's the focus for me, is just meeting new people and making holding up the old connections.
Yeah. No, it's been great. And for me, it's been that opportunity to work with the product group, right? The product group is here. They're announcing things. We've been part of private previews, a part of it. And so it's been interesting being able to connect with them in person, to your point, where we've been on emails, we've been on calls, but being able to break bread with somebody and be able to engage with them on that human aspect of it has been critical. And then the other part of it is there's so much that is being released by Microsoft. Yes. You can't learn it all. And so being able to attend some of these sessions, have conversations in the hall with something you saw, and being able to have those deeper, richer insights coming out of this, so we can go back and help our clients.
Super valuable. Yeah, Fede and I were actually doing that yesterday with some of our colleagues. Like, the Microsoft Hub is, full of folks that really own the decisions around the technology, and the conversations that we have had with partners and with other folks have been incredible. It's been awesome.
How many times I said, "Hey, can I see your LinkedIn QR code?"
Yeah. It's good.
Invaluable time. Now let's jump back to your story and specifically your customers, right? Can you tell us right now, at this stage of your company, 98 years in, what does your customer look like?
RSM serves the middle market, so it's we consider the middle market $50 to $500 million in revenue. Now, that doesn't mean we don't serve customers outside that space, but that's our focus. That's a typical customer to us. I don't know, Seth, if...
Yeah, so what's been interesting is there's a lot of large organizations, right? It's the enterprise, it's those large accounts, and their needs are a little bit different. And we're able to service them, and we're able to help them, but a lot of times they're serviced by other organizations. And so what we do is we focus on what we call the real economy. It's that wide swath of individuals. It's the mom and pop shops that have grown to be huge. It's the private equity groups that have multiple organizations, and their needs are unique, right? Because they don't have sort of the backing, and they don't have, the large scale. And so we're able to help come in and supplement a lot of what they're looking to do, especially during generative AI and in going to the cloud and going to Azure and the capabilities that offers, because they can't hire the talent, or they're struggling to hire the talent, or they're looking to focus on what their value is to their clients. And so we help sort of offload a lot of that. And so that's one of, again, the unique opportunities that we have in that space.
Yeah. So Seth, I think it's super interesting when you kind of just shared a little bit about your customer base, because, you guys serve a huge portion of, call it the real economy, that, Microsoft really relies on partners to drive transactions and, work in tandem with our resources as well. Maybe you can kind of share a little bit about how you got here and your journey. I know RSM kind of had some of your own cloud technologies at one point. Now I know you're focused heavily on the public cloud, but maybe you could kind of share a little bit about that story and what that journey, looked like, what you learned. Would love to hear about that.
Yeah, I think, Drew, you've lived it the last few years as we've gone through that journey. So I'll let you tell this.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can remember very early in my career at RSM, we talked about the pizza and what's the private cloud and what's the public cloud and what the customers have to take care of versus what they don't have to take care of. And we built our own private cloud because, again, not having the people, we thought, and we serve a smaller subset of customers. We have a lot of financial institutions that are smaller, community credit unions, things like that. And so there was a need. They were saying, I don't trust the public cloud. I want to know where my data is. And so we decided to make a heavy investment in building our own RSM cloud, our RSM IaaS. And we pushed it hard. We had the niche banking customers that really did like it, but we started to see over the course of, probably 2 or 3 years, it was the trust in public cloud was definitely picking up.
Very much so, yeah.
I think it was more of the realization of we're never going to be able to compete from a security perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, with someone like a Microsoft. And so we actually started to go walk away from the private cloud and invest heavily and say public cloud is the direction that we're moving. And we have this great relationship with Microsoft. So Azure's the direction.
It was interesting, again, being in the dynamic space back in 2013 and stuff like that, where that was just starting to be online. And so we had a lot of clients and customers that were like, hey, I want it on premise. I need to have it hosted. And so we need somewhere to host it. And then it became sort of like you mentioned, it was that trust that was built over time, right? Over the course of 5 years. We have very few clients now that are on premise out of choice. And so there's that opportunity as things have changed for us to continue to service them. And that's been interesting as Azure's become more trusted, that there's an opportunity there to move, whether it's Dynamics or whether it's other on-prem kind of things into the cloud. That trust there, that capabilities you mentioned is so much, people aren't having to manage the data centers anymore.
Well, it's a
huge thing.
It's a funny conversation now because we had, it couldn't have been but like a month ago, and we had a customer come to us and say, hey, I want to know what finance and supply chain looks like on premise. And the reason that they asked us for that was because they wanted to disqualify it.
Okay.
So they wanted to be like, this is how much investment, this is the type of technology that we're gonna have to put in place. These are the resources that we need in order to service it.
Wow.
So they could then take it back to their people that were making the decision to say, look, it doesn't make any sense to be on premise anymore.
Yeah.
We got to move this.
Well, thank you, because I know this testimony that you just shared is super valuable for our listeners. They've going through that journey, and even like how we said it in our presentation, we understand everybody has their unique situation. At the end of the day, you can see a lot of value in that. So you've hinted at this question that I'm about to ask you, but I want you to be really direct with our listeners and share what your honest opinion is. How has your investment in Azure paid off?
I think our ACR is like $42 million a year now. It's financially awesome. It's awesome payoff financially. But like more importantly, being able to take something to our customers and not have to worry about like there was a lot of heartache when we had our stuff internally. Like if we get breached or something happens, we're done. Like it's being able to offload that risk. Yeah, we're a heavily risk adverse firm being audit. So it was being able to offload that. And then also the expertise. We have very smart people that work at RSM, but it's nothing in comparison. And Adam and Andrew through the DCO program, those guys, we relied heavily on them as we started to transition out of like, hey, how do we do this? How do we go? Like, and without them, we're just trying to rely on our own or hire inside our own, find our own folks, which again was not financially wasn't going to make sense for us. So
maybe you could share a bit about the decision-making process and some of the conversations internally, as much as you're comfortable. Because I think one of the things that we see is like the hybrid cloud providers, I think, see that it's a journey when you go to Azure, right? It's not like a light switch. It's more of a dial, I think. Correct. Is kind of how we talk about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so maybe you can kind of talk about what it was like turning that dial, maybe some of the concerns of going to the private cloud or public cloud that you had to navigate. Like, how did that decision-making process, kind of take its course?
It was not easy. It was long-winded. We had one of our owners. So we're made up of 15-ish, 100 owners. Yeah. And RSM does a great job of saying like, hey, go make money for the firm. Autonomy is a big thing within our company. Mm-hmm. And so we have an owner in the firm that put big bets behind RSM's private cloud. And so it was like you said, it was a journey. It took time. It was collaboration, not only internally with owners and our resources, but also with Microsoft to say, hey, we want to help you. We understand what's going on, but we want to help you move to a space. And using DCO dollars is another big driver helping us offset some of that. The other side that was hard was the calculation of how much money we were actually even making with private cloud. The way we invested and put the expenditures in the books, that was another side that was hard for us to calculate. And moving to into the public cloud, it was a much easier ask.
You know exactly what your costs
you
are.
know exactly what your costs are.
Yeah,
Exactly what you're going to make. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Seth, if you have any other, like specifically how decisions are made in RSM, but
Yeah. So one of the things that's interesting about RSM is the entrepreneurial opportunities, as Drew mentioned. So there's a lot of opportunity for leaders in the firm to be able to make investments where they see strategic investment opportunities. And so it's that opportunity that we made and said, hey, there's going to be opportunity for people to offload their cloud. They don't want it in a server room on their, in their kitchen, and like maybe water gets on it and stuff like that. And so that's where we said, hey, let's have an opportunity for our clients to be able to offload that and put it to us. And over time, it was that next thing where, okay, now Azure's coming out. Is Microsoft going to maintain that? And that was something that, again, as we evaluated, is this going to be around in 10 years? If we don't make this investment, if we, worry about what's coming next, Microsoft, is going to be there. And so it's been exciting to see that journey for our organization and our leaders to bounce ideas off of each other on what they're seeing coming and not being controlled by that sunk cost fallacy where like, hey, we made this investment into the data center. Are we going to be okay going somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
We just did this. So it has been exciting. It's been a journey of leaders. It's been a journey of collaboration. It's being curious about what's coming next. And so it's been really exciting.
Well, and I think I mentioned it beforehand, but we also lean on our partners like Microsoft to come in and say, like, here's what we're seeing. And the collaboration, we have our internal collaboration, but also external collaboration with our partners. And it's just been, we've had really good connections. And then we do keep on hiring people from Microsoft as well. So bringing them in to help out. But for specific groups, I mean, it's not, Microsoft's technology spans a wide space, and having individual programs helping out with all the technologies, have leaders in the space, has really been helpful.
Kudos to you for that flexibility and not falling for the sunk cost fallacy. I know the unpredictability in the cost structure is something that we hear all the time from our partners. So as you were thinking about the growth opportunity in Azure, how did you see that? And how do you see it now with the era of AI we're living?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to real tactical and leave the AI fun stuff to Seth. We're the number 2 Dynamics partner in North America, with top 3. We bounce around. We have our friends over in the top 3, and so being able to help the development in that space, Azure, like we saw, like, hey, that is how we're going to grow our code base, our IP, what we deliver in the Dynamics space, connecting it with a lot of our other businesses. So, I mean, a pure Azure play, we had that niche. We were looking like banking sectors and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden it's been like, what? Build IP around it and deliver it out to all of our customers, not just the FI space. So anyways, it's a huge growth potential. It's an area that we are trying to do ourselves, plug in ourselves and kind of a narrow focus to start. And then all of a sudden we have thousands of customers and tap into those for all the other products that we help support.
Yeah, and from an AI perspective, it was interesting when we saw the AI Foundry get released at Ignite yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that concept of now on Azure, it's a platform, right? And as Drew mentioned, it used to be sort of we could service one client base and because it was a niche and they needed it. But now being on Azure, the capabilities as a platform have really empowered us to have deeper conversations across security, across the opportunities when it comes to AI, across management of resources and stuff like that, and managing cost. And so you're really having a deeper, more business-related conversation than just saying, okay, where's your data stored? You're having, okay, what are you trying to accomplish as a part of this? And knowing on the back end that Azure's there to help support what you're trying to achieve. And so it's been a great opportunity having, been on that journey early, going from hybrid to in the cloud, and now being able to already be there and have a lot of robust capabilities, to now we're having deeper conversations right at the right time. We're not having to learn it from scratch. And so it's been giving us a great competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Elevation into the business conversation.
Yeah.
Conversations, I think, is a great point that that you bring up. Yeah, I can remember before we even got to the public cloud space, I was a VCIO trying to tell people, hey, you need to get on this thing called BPOS. And we had a little bit of fallout from that. And this great thing, SharePoint Online and all this fun stuff. And so, we're talking technology at that point. Yeah. We're not talking, and they're scared, like technology is scared of technology and not having it like, hey, let's solve a business problem with technology.
Yeah.
Getting back to that.
Totally. And that's been a theme I think that we have heard on this podcast, actually. Like, our most successful partners are focused on solving the business problems, and the technology is baked into the solution, but you're solving the business problem, right? That's the focus. And every time we see that, especially with the focus on industry, there's huge success in the market. Like, that's the recipe, I think, right? Mm-hmm. So I think, kind of talking about the evolution too, and also solving business problems. One of the huge focuses that I think business leaders have today is really around security. I mean, AI is obviously where everybody is going to create incremental value, but ensuring you keep it secure is first and foremost. Internally, we have the Secure Futures Initiative, SFI. It's a core priority for every Microsoft employee. Satya has basically told us security is job one. Yeah. It is, kind of the core of everything we do. I know RSM plays a huge role for your customers, in helping them navigate all of the complexities of cybersecurity. Maybe you could elaborate on that, but also, maybe kind of in that answer, would love to hear, or in your perspective on that, would love to hear, how has that created, incremental business opportunities and support for your customers as well?
Yeah. So security has been paramount, right? So it's been interesting when it comes to AI. It used to be security through obscurity, right? And so when M365 was rolled out with Copilot, it was interesting because we had clients that were doing their own proof of concepts. And what they found is that a manager in one division was able to see, health information or, salaries for another line of business.
That's not a best practice.
That's not a best practice at all, right? Yeah. But because it wasn't secured, or it had been shared, right, to everybody in the organization, right? It used to be like, if I shared a file with Drew.
Delve.
I don't know who else.
How do I turn Delve off?
So what we found is that there's been a high priority. And what's been interesting as a security first organization ourselves, and having won the Microsoft 2023
Department of Defense.
Defense and Intelligence Partner of the Year.
That's a mouthful.
That is. No, I appreciate that, highlighting it, because for us, at the highest levels, we're focused on security, right? Mm-hmm. Even with the DoD and with the intelligence agencies, we're able to serve them, right? And so we're bringing a lot of those same concepts that we are required at that level to our other clients. And so it's been interesting and engaging to have deeper, meaningful conversations with organizations, because they are afraid, hey, I would love M365 Copilot, but I can't use it because I don't know where my security is. I don't know how my data is, where it's at rest, potentially who else is able to see it. And so again, that was an interesting conversation early in the hybrid cloud is, okay, who has access to this data physically, right? Yeah. That was part of it. And then that expanded out to, again, through software and such. And so it's been an interesting sort of journey around security. AI has definitely caused more people to be interested in security, which is great.
Yeah.
We, and again, back to the whole, like, we're a tax audit, and the tax and audit side of our business, we're very risk averse. It used to be called NORM, National Office of Risk Management. We always blamed things like not getting the newest things on Norm. And it was like, who's this guy Norm? No. It's a group of people. It's our Office of Risk Management. We shortened it. We took national out of there. But like, we are very like internally conscious around security. We have a group of folks, not only in our consulting space, but also in the audit group, that sit down and we collaborate together they go out and they do these security audits and say, like, here are the things we're looking at. We've built out our own secure enclave for our government, because we serve government clients, townships, things like that. So we have a lot of folks dedicated to security within our firm. Top of mind. Much like Microsoft.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
No wonder we have such a great partnership. You also mentioned briefly Copilot, right?
Yeah.
And I know you're big users and partners in the Copilot space. So tell us about your experience with Copilot and how really has it been helping you over the past year and a half that you've been using it.
I'll go first because I'm the simpler, and then Seth is the guy that reuses it for the real stuff. Like even simple things like coaching emails, I use that all the time. Like, hey, how does this sound? Like, and for some reason, like it always tells me I'm too direct. You're like,
I appreciate
shocked.
that about you.
I'm
though.
shocked.
I appreciate that.
Shocked.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's always kind of telling me to tone it down a little bit in the directness. And like even again, really simple things that I'm using for is like scheduling a meeting with Copilot. It takes a lot of time to sit there and me like go through scheduling assistance, even within our own firm, to try to schedule a meeting. It's just been a time saver for me, and then enhanced, what I'm putting out there, the emails that I'm sending to our clients and to internally to our firm. So that's what I've been using it for. Time saver and making my work better. Just checking my work. So it's good.
Yeah, it's interesting. The quality of work I feel like is increased
Yes.
because it used to take me,
That's a great point.
an hour, 2 hours to do a PowerPoint or something like that to get
Yeah.
ready. And what's interesting is that starting at 80%, right, from the blank page to 80%, or an email or something like that. Now I can focus on what was the message, right? So what is that last sort of 5 or 10% that's going to make this unique to the client, and unique to the story, be able to engage them, and I'm focused more on that and less on, okay, do I have this slide? Okay, where is this graphic? What does this look like? And more on how is this going to be received to the audience. So whether that's in Word as you're going through that, whether it's in an email like you mentioned, whether it's a PowerPoint deck, there's so many opportunities to infuse and focus on how is a message going to be received, and that's where I have creativity, right?
Yeah.
That's what is unique, right? So again, there's an opportunity to have it do a lot of the get you started type of process, and so that's been very impactful the last year.
And objective feedback is the other thing that I really like about it too, because it's like it's not a human that's going to be afraid of like hurting your feelings. So I have a really good prompt that's like, hey, can you look at my emails over the course of the last 3 to 5 months and tell me things that I'm doing good and telling me areas where I need to improve. And then it goes and it looks like team chats, emails, like calls and stuff. And it gives you it's a good objective check on myself and in areas that I can improve. And I didn't have to ask somebody else to do it. I asked AI.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I found is you have to be curious, right? You can't just ask one question. You need to ask a couple of questions, right?
Yeah.
You maybe phrase it a little differently, or it has that opportunity to go deeper into something. And that's been interesting. So being curious as a part of it has been a huge benefit.
Yeah.
And the other one is teams, right? The teams meeting stuff, taking notes.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. And so being able to have it take notes, and now instead of focusing on, okay, I'm going to ask you this question, then I need to listen and write notes, and then I need to think about the next thing to say. What I can do is have a business conversation with you, knowing on the back end it's going to capture it, and I can query against that different ways. What was Adam's perspective on this? What was Fede's perspective on this, right? What were the different personas? What were the different things? Can you write me an email as a part of it? Yeah. So I was in back-to-back meetings, had an initial sales call, needed to intro this person to somebody else. And what would have taken me, 10, 15 minutes to write an email, because I wanted to, okay, what are the thoughts? What were the objectives? Let me go through my notes. How should I intro this person? Just asking it, hey, I need to take this meeting, summarize it for this business developer, for this individual, and give them the highlights and my perspective on it, right? And so being able to do that between meetings was incredible, right? So that time for latency, it's no longer at the end of the day, I got to go through all my emails. I was able to do it quickly in the flow of what I was doing and move on to the next thing, and not have it sort of linger in the back of your mind. Do I need to do this? Okay, remember to do that. Don't forget about it, type of thing.
That's awesome.
That curiosity point, one of the sessions I was at Ignite, they're building like the prompts now. Well, you kind of go to the prompts and you see the big ones. They're building, I don't remember the exact name of prompt library, something like that.
Like a cookbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can let's say you like that one that I use. And it's like 3 or 4 sentences long. I can pin that, and then I could share that with an individual. I can share with my whole company, and then you build out this, and that in itself is going to be worth very valuable.
I mean, we've had it internally called Cooking with Copilot, where people will have their different recipes, right? And you kind of share. And Yeah, 100% agree with everything you all have said. The curiosity part, especially, like Fede was just giving me a couple tips yesterday, right? And so I'm always learning, right? I think that's the mindset. You want to be curious and learning. Like that's definitely the key with AI.
Yeah. What about you, Fede, with Copilot?
I was gonna share one. I had this like very elaborate prompt that had like analyzed my closest work relationships, and if they were in the Star Wars universe, which characters would it be and why?
Nice.
It told me pretty much Adam and I were like Han Solo and Chewbacca. I'm not gonna say who was who. It's gonna be up for our audience to decide. But it was fun, and yeah, it really tells you like metaphorically some things you could learn on, but also have some fun along the way.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that's interesting because what you've done there is you've now been able to attribute like an emotional connection, right? You have sort of, when you say Han Solo and Chewbacca, I know immediately sort of like, I'm not going to, we'll put it in the comments or whatever. Yeah.
We're going to need some sort of a Chewbacca roar between the two of you, and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm really good at it, actually. Not gonna do it here. We don't have the equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's that concept of being able to say, okay, maybe help me understand this in a way that I would do it, right? It's not asking it, explain like I'm a 5-year-old, but explain it in a story format, right? And that engages an audience when you're doing it as a story.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's a great prompt. I'm going to use that now.
That is
Yeah,
good.
I'll give you the full one.
Yeah.
Share it with us, yeah.
So, I know there's been a ton of exciting announcements here at Ignite. Super excited to hear about Azure Local personally. Azure Arc and everything is incredible. But I think a huge one that, from a strategy shift that I think in some ways could be the most impactful, especially, on your customer base, is kind of the pivot where CSP is really the hero motion now within SMC. And so maybe you can talk about that and really kind of how the CSP program helps you unlock incremental value and really at the end of the day, solve your customers' business problems.
I'm super excited about this.
Good.
I've been like for years, it was one of those things where it was kind of an internal, like, we're a customer first, serving the customers first. So when we have a joint customer together, we're always looking, why are we letting licensing getting in the way of solving actual business problems? And we had this internal thing where like, is the EA the better route or is the CSP the better route? And there were some internal issues like between like, we're a CSP first. That's been our motion for, we were an OG CSP partner.
Yeah,
2007, like 7.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we love it from a flexibility. We love the whole, like, let's wrap our IP around the licensing piece. And we really got into that. We've kind of backed off a little bit just because that's the customers have been like, hey, I want to see from a costing perspective what costs, they want to see a direct correlation of like services cost me this much, licensing cost me this much. But like we get rid of that now that the SMC, SMB market is all CSP is the motion. We now don't have conflicts with AEs. That was probably our biggest issues. Like we want to come in and we want to ramp with a customer, and some of those customers are ready to go live in 2 weeks. But we have financial supply chain customers that have been on AX or GP that it's going to take 24 months to get their entire data over to D365 FNS. And so they don't want to pay for 2 years and not see a value in the licenses. So I'm super excited. Yeah. I know our customers will be super excited about this move.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, thank you for that. We have one final question for you all because we have our community eager to hear what would be your parting advice for them. If they've stayed for the whole laughs and the whole conversation, what would be your parting advice for them?
I said this already once. It's the human connections, going out and doing the Microsoft events and meeting people in person. You'll make awesome connections, and they'll help you. They're here to help you. You're helping each other. So do the Microsoft things. Get in front of the Microsoft people. Build your network out. It would be my biggest piece of advice. And it's been an excellent relationship that I've had with Adam and Andrew, and and the whole DCO team.
And before you go, Seth, like, just want to say it means a lot that with that amazing booth and all the sessions and the labs, you guys took some time to come to our office and record this. It speaks to, the great relationship that we built, but for sure, we don't take it for granted. And, anybody that's listening can just reach out to the DCO team at dco.microsoft.com, establish that connection. You can join our hybrid cloud partners community. Like, we're really eager to establish, and hopefully in a few years you'll be like Drew and Seth here, and we'll be telling a great transformation story. But sorry, Seth, I didn't.
No, you're good. I was just going to say collaboration and being curious in this realm of AI and what's coming. It's having partners, it's having friends, it's having conversations, and it's being curious around what's coming. How do we help improve each other, our clients, at the end of the day, and collaboration. You can't go alone. And so go together and go better.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again. We'll let you go back to the booth and the fun and everything. It's been an honor to have you. And for our listener, this is our last episode of the year. We had such a fun run over 10 or more episodes. Yeah. So
We're losing track.
yeah, we're losing, at this point, I don't even remember how many we've done this year since July. But don't worry, we'll be back in January with more partner stories like this one. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned for more insights and stories from Microsoft's Data Center Optimization team. Be sure to stay connected at dco.microsoft.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.